Well, that was my first stumble. That sounded good, didn't it? Hi, everybody. It's probably why I'm not on the camera. Time again for another behind-the-scenes look at BAAD Radio, which means business at a distance. So there you have it. This was all created during COVID, and we still have businesses at distance, which means that we should probably get them together, which is what this networking opportunity is all about. But without further ado, let's get this thing started, shall we? All right, let's get rid of that. Stand by in the studio.
You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BAAD Radio.
Hello and welcome to BAAD Radio. BAAD stands for Business at a Distance. This is a show about local businesses and business networking. We are here in the News Radio WFLA Orlando studios from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I am your host, Angela Smarito, and in studio with me we have our producer, Melissa Fox.
Hi.
How are you doing today, Melissa?
I'm great. I am winning the contest for ugliest shirt.
I think that you are.
I know. I think I did.
No. We talked about it earlier. You should see
It's
the
ugly.
inside. That's a compliment. She wants it to be ugly.
Okay. That was the plan. I thought there was a contest, and apparently I'm the only one entered.
Well, then you definitely won.
Oh, no.
Up next, we have Melissa Jacob with Striking Brand.
Hello.
Melissa is our co-host and our videographer. And if you go to baadradio.com, you can watch all the previous episodes of BAAD Radio. Melissa does a great job of doing all of that for us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then you can also go to strikingbrand.com to see the rest of Melissa's work because she is a photographer as well as a videographer. We have two new guests with us today on BAAD Radio, so please welcome Paul Clark, president of Storm Consultants, and Paul is also the GM of Renegade Roofing. Hi, Paul.
Hi, everyone.
Mm-hmm. So Paul and our next guest, actually, I'm going to go ahead and introduce them. Our next guest is Ken Sider. Am I saying that right? Siders. Okay, you guys got to scoot a little bit closer together for me. Ken is a senior forensic analyst with environmental testing and assessment. That sounds so incredibly impressive. The whole forensic part where I'm just like, heck yeah. But you guys made the hike up from Fort Myers today, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
How far was that?
It's about 4 hours.
4 hours.
Yeah. I know that because we've been in town a few times for baseball tournaments. So we've made that hike that way. The traffic in Fort Myers is horrendous.
Oh, yeah.
Horrendous. I mean, it's bad everywhere you
Worse
go.
than Orlando? Worse than I-4?
Oh, probably not worse than I-4, like at certain times. But with Fort Myers, you have 75 is the main one that everything you get off on, and it's just each one that you get off on, it's like traffic jam after traffic jam. We did go to downtown Fort Myers. We went to a kava bar down there, and it was pretty nice.
Yes.
Like it had a nice little vibe to it. But you guys, thank you so much for being with us today. It's hurricane season, and so that's why these gentlemen are here, because, we have a whole lot to talk about.
Yep.
But first, this portion of BAAD Radio is brought to you by Frogger's Bar and Grill. Looking for a place to go with friends or meet new ones? Then you're looking for Frogger's Grill and Bar. With 4 great locations, there is bound to be one near you. Come with friends or bring the family for some food and fun. And don't miss out on Frogger's amazing menu where everything is fresh, never frozen. Oviedo, Mount Dora, Apopka, and Altamont Springs. Frogger's, hopping with food and fun. So next up, we have the networking news, and I did actually get you the content for the live this time.
Okay. And yes, if you give me 2 seconds. Okay. Ready? Symphonic.
Are you prepared now?
I'm super prepared.
Okay.
Come on. All right. Symphonic CBD is a branch of Live Your Best Life, both advocates of Green Compass Global. Green Compass products are USDA organic, lab-tested, non-GMO, made in the United States, and cruelty-free. All good things. Wow. CBD products are key in making calmness a habit. They also have CBD for our fur babies. To get more information on the benefits of CBD, visit symphonic-cbd.com. That's symphonic-cbd.com.
Yeah, she finished her website.
Nice.
I know. It looks so good.
Did the same person who did BAAD's website do
No,
her?
actually, she did it herself.
Oh, wow. Go, Anna.
I know. I don't know how.
Killing it.
It's my daughter,
Oh.
Symphonic CBD is a branch of Green Compass Global, which is the parent company.
And the networking news was actually sponsored by the business that got Anna in, which is called Live Your Best Life. So both Live Your Best Life and Symphonic CBD are advocates for Green Compass Global. So basically, the more that Anna sells, the more it's all connected together. So, but yes, Anna did her own website, and we're very proud of her. So, what do we got for the networking news today?
So, for networking news today, I wanted to talk about benefits of networking with businesses that are related to yours.
Okay.
So, not just kind of networking for the sake of networking. In BNI, we have contact spheres. So, you kind of want to connect with people who are related to your business, and just wanted to talk about why that is important.
Well, I mean, our two guests today actually are perfect with that because you guys work in an industry where you can pass referrals back and forth, right?
Correct.
Right. So, I mean, that in itself is a huge benefit.
Right. So you guys will be able to definitely like firsthand, check these off as benefits. So the first one is collaboration and partnership opportunities. You're able to build relationships with businesses that are in your industry in complementary sectors. You can do joint ventures. So an example would be, when you do work with any other sort of promotional industry.
For me, like another, I mean, for Mindful Media Group, that's the agency that I work for. I mean, I work with vendors, so that's what I do. Is I'm basically a media broker. So I would work with a company, they would come see me, but I mean, I'm constantly doing meetings and networking with the people that are in that industry, so that when I meet with a company, I have all of the information on what would be the best place for them to advertise.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely.
So they get a bang for their buck.
What about you? I mean, like, what are some of your contacts?
Honestly, if I work with somebody in web development, that's another really good one, especially if they're used to working with new businesses.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Right. So if I come in contact with someone who's a new business owner, I can send them to someone who can make a nice website, like Nasir from last episode, can give them a good website, and then he's going to need content for that website. So then he can refer people back to me.
And from our conversations, Paul, you are like the networking king down there. Look at Ken's over there like, yes, he is. I'm glad I know this guy.
Right.
But I mean, like you said, those are the types of things that can keep businesses in business.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the big thing is you want to network with each other and push business to one another, but it's also more than that. You want to have partners that you can trust, that you know are going to take care of your clients.
Yes, that is one of the reasons why I do like BNI. Ken, do you know what BNI is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that was something, but that's why I like BNI, because when somebody asks me for a referral, because people know that now, that they're like, Angela knows people. So they'll ask me, hey, do you know anybody that does gutters, or do you know anybody that does this? I know that I have a source to refer from. So if I don't know anybody personally, then I can go into BNI and find somebody, because if they're in BNI, then they've been checked out. And if they've been in BNI for any length of time, that means that they're quality, because if they're not, then they don't last.
They drop out pretty fast.
Or they get booted.
Yeah.
We booted somebody out of our network last week.
Did you really?
Yeah. He shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Like, get the rubbish out. Oh, God.
I was like,
cut their so
my job is done here.
Right? You must have been in for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next one is knowledge sharing and learning. So you can engaging with people who are in your related field helps you stay updated on industry trends, gains insight into best practices, innovative approaches, and emerging technologies that can benefit your own business. So for me, I usually work primarily with businesses, photography and videography, but when I connect with someone who's a family photographer in a different field, it's really fun to be able to learn like what their techniques are, and the ways that they maybe share files, things like that I wouldn't necessarily do on my own.
Yeah, no, I do too. Like I said, every time I meet with somebody, I learn something new, especially when I'm talking about vendors, a new way of doing something, a new way of getting exposure to a company. And with you guys, I mean, do you have to do a lot of like education to stay on top of, I mean, not just like, you guys, your stuff is changing all the time, from the cost of materials to whatever. I mean, for environmental stuff, is there like code changes all the time that you guys have to stay abreast of?
So for the environmental world, there are required hours for your license.
You have to talk closer to it.
Oh,
There.
okay. How about that? Is that better?
Nice.
You got that nice deep voice.
I know.
It's
We
like
wanna
just
hear it.
like just milk that that voice right now.
So there are required hours from the state.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are the hours that you really need to put in to stay on top of your game. That's so important.
Yeah. Well, I think that we've all established that it's really important to network within your industry. So, but that music means that we're going to a break. When we get back, where we're going to talk about hurricane season with both Paul and Ken. So stay tuned because it's here. It's important.
Oh, yeah, it is important. Hurricane season and more bad radio on the way. You're listening to News Radio WFLA, Orlando.
Those are my songs.
Very nice.
I sent her a list of songs that I like.
You got your jam?
That's one of them. I know it's old.
I like that song.
Yeah. There.
Fast times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah. Sean Penn.
Bruh.
Mr. Hand.
The pizza scene is the best.
I know. Tom, my husband, tries to get the kids to watch like those old movies with him, like the classics he calls them, and every single time they'll start watching it and they'll be like, "This is so stupid." And I'm like, "This what are you talking about? It's Spicoli. There's nothing
Right?
stupid about Spicoli." And they're
That's
like,
funny.
"It's stupid, Mom." And I'm like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
fine. Okay,
Stand by, folks. Here we go again.
here we go."
You just had to talk, didn't you?
Welcome back to Bad Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back to Bad Radio. This portion of Bad Radio is brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore. It is hot, hot, hot out there, so best to plan some inside activity. But first, a trip to Premier Couple Superstore. They have the best selection of lingerie, shoes, toys, games, love oils, clubwear, and so much more. And you're not going to pay those high prices because you're going to go directly to the source. 5009 South OBT, or shop online at premiercouples.net, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. Anyway, okay. So before break, we talked about hurricane season. And just a reminder to our audience, we're speaking with Paul Clark, president of Storm Consultants, as well as the GM of Renegade Roofing, and Ken Siders, senior forensic analyst in environmental testing and assessment. I need to like shorten that up somehow, because
Some initials or something.
it's like 30 seconds of the content is all that. But the reason that I invited you guys here today is because it is hurricane season, and anybody that's been listening to Bad Radio knows that I feel very passionate about everything that's been happening in the state of Florida. So first and foremost, let's just talk a little bit first. Ken, let's talk about your background in Paul. Let's talk about your background in what you're doing right now. I know that you're the GM of Renegade Roofing, but you're also launching your own company, correct?
Correct. So I've been in the industry for 25 years. I started out as a storm chaser. Came to Florida in 2004 after the 4 hurricanes, became an insurance adjuster for the insurance companies.
And I think that's awesome because you've seen the other side.
Oh, yeah. And you learn a lot, you learn why the insurance companies do what they do and not do what they're supposed to do.
Are they really as bad as we all say they are?
Yeah.
Yes.
I could tell you a funny story if you want to hear it.
Yeah, that's what
So when I was getting trained, I was in Atlanta, Georgia. There was about 500 of us being trained to become insurance adjusters. So they gave you a class for a week of policy and knowledge, and then how to use. Back then was Xactimate and IntegraClaim, which IntegraClaim is no more.
Is that the name of a company?
That's the name of the estimating software that the insurance companies use. So the last day we're there, they're deploying us all. Yeah, I was deployed to Stewart in Port St. Lucie, Florida at the time. And before they deployed us, they said, hey, just so you guys know, we got to tell you, there's 2 things you can't pay for. You can't pay for full replacement of screen enclosures. And I'm from New York originally, so I'm like, screen enclosure? What's that? Where I'm from, it's just a framed room with a screen.
Right,
Why can't you pay for that? But anyways, once you go to Florida, you understand what a screen enclosure is. And then they said you can't pay for full replacement of tile roofs. We're going to send an engineer. So I raised my hand, and I had State Farm as insurance at the time. And I said, well, my understanding is I pay my policy premiums every month. If I have damage, you pay it. Why would I need an engineer?
Did they kick you out right then and with a big fat F that says fail on your forehead?
Pretty much that's what they wanted to do. But so the gentleman laughs. He snickers in front of 500 people. He goes, we don't answer to policyholders. We answer to stockholders.
Oh
That's
my
all you need to
God.
know about the insurance industry.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. I think my biggest thing too is because I do a lot of research, and when I find out like what the CEOs are making,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel sorry for them anymore. They're like, "Oh, woe is me! You know, we've got all these claims, and you know, we can't afford to be there. Well, stop paying your CEO $18 million.
Mm-hmm.
It's so frustrating, girl.
Right,
Sometimes
yeah.
I have to put it down.
Yeah. No, I know.
It's like worse than politics.
Yeah.
It is.
It's like, don't bring it up around Angela.
You would think common sense would tell them to pay the claims, not the bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean, a lot of insurance companies will actually pay more to fight against paying the claim than just paying the claim and being done with it, right?
Yeah.
What is it?
There are reasons behind that. So they don't want to establish precedents.
Is that what it is?
It's part of it. And then there's the delay, deny, defend, in which if you have $20 billion that you're going to have to spend, if you spend a couple of million in legal fees and put that off for a year or two, then you've retained that capital. So I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying that's the
It's
way
a
the real
business.
world.
It all comes down to the
Dollars.
That's
the
exactly
money.
right.
Right. I
Yep.
meant, is there any hope for the state of Florida?
Oh God. We went dark.
Well, as we know, the law changes didn't help the property owners.
Do you see
Right.
reform in the future?
You know, we've talked to a couple of attorneys that we're friends with and we use, and you know, they said that this is going to be the wave probably for the next couple of years until the DeSantis and the politicians get slapped in the face when these the policyholders can't pay for their claims because they're not getting the proper settlement back. One of the big things right now.
Well, yeah, let's do this real quick. Let's tell everybody exactly what we're talking about. It's been a minute since I've talked about what happened with Senate Bill 2A, but I'm going to let you describe it because I've had attorneys on here describe it. I've had other people on, but I don't think I've ever had a roofer come on
So
and
we can
actually
hear it from your perspective.
Yeah, and then also somebody that's environmentalist.
So one of the problems with right now is Hurricane Ian, everybody's grandfathered in, so you can get your attorney's fees paid for. With any new claim, any new hurricane that happens now, you can't get your insurance fees paid for. You've got to pay them out of your pocket.
That's huge.
That's a big problem because with what's going on today, the insurance companies go in and they, go to DeSantis and say, this is what we can do and we're going to help and this is going to be better. Well, with the delays and denial tactics, that we're 9 months into the storm already. The 28th of this month's 9 months. And there's only probably a third of the claims settled. So that tells me on the new law change that you only have 1 year to file a claim, and you have another 6 months to do a supplement. As if we're in a storm right now and under this new law, we'd be in serious trouble. And so the insurance companies are showing bad faith right now by not even taking care of the customers on Hurricane Ian. Thankfully, we have 2 years to file a claim, so they have some more time. They have attorney fees that can be paid for. But if we're in a new storm and they do this, I tell this story, break this number down. Say you have a claim that's $100,000. The homeowner has a $10,000 deductible, and then you got to hire a public adjuster. There's another $10,000. So now,
10%, right?
Yep, 10%. The public adjusters in this storm, not all of them, but a lot of them are getting stall tactics. So they're not getting anywhere. They're getting to a certain point and they're done. So now you got to hire an attorney. In a new storm, you're going to have to pay that attorney a third. So now that claim just went from $100,000 down to $47,000. They just took $53,000 because $10,000 for your deductible, $10,000 to the public adjuster, and $33,000 to that attorney.
And then you've got $100,000 worth of damage, so you're out. What is that, like 60 grand?
Yeah.
Right. So there's no way that a homeowner can fix their issues without having to pay for it.
Exactly. So what's going to happen is you have $47,000. One of two things is going to happen. One, you're going to have to go get a home equity loan if you have it, and lower to middle class don't have that type of money laying around to take these. So what's going to happen is the homeowner's going to have to try to get a loan. And after they get the loan, then they can see if they pay. If they can't get a loan, which people are having problems with SBA loans from FEMA now not even getting approved, you're going to have to figure out for $47,000, what do I fix? So what do you fix? You've got to pay for a tarp because you got a leak. You got to pay for a roof, and then you got to pay for remediation test and have remediation done.
Yeah.
There's not enough money to do all that.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do?
We need to talk to DeSantis and go back to him and say, hey, you made a bad deal here, and, this law needs to change. Don't get me wrong. Some of these attorneys did do the wrong things, and they took too many fees. They should go back to the laws, and they should look at Louisiana. Me and Ken were just talking about this yesterday. Louisiana has a better law system to take care of the property owners, but also take care of the attorneys and keep them honest. And that's one thing that we need to look at.
Like implement that over here. And Brooke was saying the same thing of Bolts Legal about how we need to go back and talk to, but it's going to be a while before we can have any sort of reform.
Everybody gives me that 5 year. About 5 years. Is that what you guys think?
I think that a lot of times people put stop signs up at intersections that have already had wrecks. And I believe that's what we're going to see. It's too late at this point to get that law changed. We're in hurricane season.
Right.
And so I believe we're going to have a huge car wreck when we have this. And that's going to spill out onto the people who made it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen because we're going to have storms this year.
Yep.
I mean,
like every year.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but I
Still
meant,
coming.
but everybody's been telling me that the waters in the Caribbean and stuff like that
Oh,
are like
worse.
10 degrees higher on average or something. Which
Very warm.
Very warm. And then Puerto Rico just this past week the whole island had a state of a warning for a heat advisory.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, you know what? I want to talk about that a little bit more as far as like the prediction of the storms and how you guys get prepared for that, because this whole show is really going to be about the homeowners and what they need to do to get prepared. So you guys stay tuned. And when we get back from break, we're going to talk more about that.
It's bad radio. That's all you left me.
You got to the point, though.
We're going to get a call from DeSantis' office saying we got to leave Florida.
You know what? If DeSantis calls you, can I talk to him?
Right.
I have Lieutenant Governor Nunez's number, but DeSantis is a little elusive. Let's put it that way.
Do you guys know a guy named Patrick Carr?
Patrick Carr?
Uh-huh.
No.
Yeah, he does a lot of like videos and stuff like that, and we know that some of his stuff has made it to DeSantis' office.
Okay.
Yeah, because he's a huge advocate against it, and
Yeah. We'll have to look him up.
yeah, he's got a lot of good content. He goes to like roofing conventions, and he just goes around and he talks. It's like a podcast, mobile kind of thing or something like that. But he does a whole lot of yelling.
Yelling, that's good. I like yelling.
He's got that real deep voice like yours, and but it's like so far just if you feel like you're screaming on nobody's listening.
Right.
So
Well, you've got to, when you're yelling, you've got to have the right content to yell about.
well, you have to have the voice, and the voice is what we're doing right now. It's the radio. It's being able to get everybody to get together onto one unified path. And then push that. That's the only way that anything's going to happen.
All right, segment number 3 is coming up. Are you ready for that? Did I scare you? I'm sorry.
No.
No, I'm not. You know I'm not. All right, stand by. So silly.
Welcome back to Bad Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of Bad Radio is brought to you by Forge IT Consulting, providing a fully outsourced IT department with a personal touch for small business. No company is too small. ForgeITConsulting.com. All right, we are talking with Paul Clark, president of Storm Consultants, as well as the GM of Renegade Roofing, and Ken Siders, senior forensic analyst with environmental testing and assessment. I got it better that time. And before I went to break, we were talking about the prediction of storms and what people need to do in order to get prepared. And so we mentioned that the waters down south in the Caribbean and stuff like that are 10 degrees higher on average. So that's a good prediction of storm season. So you guys are in the industry. What do you do with that information? Do you start advertising people what do you do to help get homeowners get prepared?
Well, this radio show, for one
I
thing.
know. Well, the second media, yeah.
And then we try to get the words out there. We start collaborating already in May of putting our teams together to be prepared for when the storms hit. So we have, shrink wrap companies, we have our tarping companies, we have remediation companies, we have our testing, environmental testing, and then we also have, all of our, we also have a general contracting company. So we put everybody in place, put them on notice. Hey, if this hits, where are you willing to go? What are you willing
Okay.
to do? So we have the team, we can deploy, and we can be there the next day to help people clean up and, really go out and help the community.
No, I think that that's fantastic. So, can your business, so environment, I mean, is your business hyper focused on mold assessment?
No, we're focused on damage that's been caused by hurricanes or whatever.
Okay,
the
so
natural
remediation,
disaster.
like he was saying.
So our company is actually we're a third-party assessment company.
Okay.
So because we're a third party and we don't, as they say, have a horse in the race, we can go into a building and accurately describe and document the damages that have become from the storm, and then whatever environmental damage that's happened because of that storm damage. So we give that to public adjusters. We work with a lot of lawyers.
Okay, I see. So you don't felicitate or whatever. You put together the repair. You just say this is what's wrong.
Right.
That's right. And we do write a scope of work, which is called a protocol in this business. And so a mitigator or a remediator, those who come in and clean the buildings, have a third-party estimate of what needs to be done. It's a good educated starting point.
Okay.
And then we monitor the job we work for the asset owners ourselves.
The asset owners.
Yeah, so the building owner, the homeowner.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so we're a professional advocate for that.
Mm-hmm.
And because we've been in this business a really long time, we understand what a good job looks like and what a not good job looks like. And we don't have a problem saying that.
Good. I like to hear that too, because I think of like home inspectors that are like, hey, I really want to get this closed. So can you just kind of skip over that leak in the bathroom a little bit? So we're not talking about that.
No.
No, not at all.
And the third party aspect sounds like more trustworthy. You'd be able to depend on you have no horse in the race, like how you said.
Yeah. I think I always think of the word nonpartisan. It's like, like straight down the middle. Switzerland. You're Switzerland.
Yeah.
So we are Switzerland.
Very cool. So that gives me a little bit more of an understanding. And then, okay, so you guys work together. So you're like Renegade Roofing would hire Ken's company, or wait, no, you would give the referral to.
So I'll just tell you how it usually happens.
Yes.
Is we get called in either by a contractor or a remediator or the asset owner or lawyers or public adjusters. So we contract directly with the asset owner. So we're kind of a side, if you will. And then it may be that Paul's company is there also, or perhaps they need a roof. And so as a third party, of course, people ask us. And we've run storms. I'm 20 plus years in the business, so we know who the good actors are and who the bad actors are. We'll generally give them several referrals. But within our group, and understand we're all not actually in a group. We're just a group of business people that have found it's advantageous, as you've said, to do business together.
Yeah.
And so then we'll act as the third party, giving advice environmentally, structurally, as the case may be, and then performing what, if you will, an accurate assessment of the damage that we hand off to the next person, which may be the roofer, it may be the remediator, the mitigator, or it may just be making a package. We make packages called RFT, ready for trial. So we'll make a package that's completely organized in a 3-ring binder, tabbed, something you can just hand to a lawyer who he can just take to trial. That's one of the services we offer as a third party.
So you're one of the first people that people contact.
Sometimes. Sometimes people, they'll say, and I won't name names, but, the big remediation companies who spend a lot of money to advertise. So forefront in the person's mind is, I want my house fixed or I want my business open. And so environmental assessment may not be the first thing they think of. Some of them don't even realize it's an issue. But whether we're the first in or we're the second in or the third in, we still operate in that same third party.
Right. Well, I think a lot of people think that the first thing they're supposed to do is call their insurance company and file a claim. And I've come through.
Yeah, after all this knowledge, we're like, no. Find an attorney.
Well, the truth is that according to most policies, your first course of action is to get an assessment of the damage before you even. I mean, it's basically supposed to be your responsibility to assess that damage before you file a claim. Nobody knows that.
No, I didn't know that.
I know. I learned that at a roofing convention.
So I have a comment on that, which I think is helpful for the homeowners. So we should all understand that when an insurance company sends out a quote assessor, they work for the insurance company.
Yeah.
They are absolutely not a third party. They're there to do whatever the minimum is, and I'm not banging these guys and girls. That's just their job. So would you as a homeowner rather have their document produced and given to the desk adjuster, which it'll eventually be there, or would you rather have your own, which would be in a more timely fashion? We all know it takes 6, 8, 9 months sometimes for the adjusters to come out from the insurance company. So in the meantime, you touched on this. It is your duty, it's your actual duty by the policy to mitigate damage to the best of your ability. It's also your duty to figure out where you stand, as you said. Wouldn't it be better to have your own set of documents that are done by a person who works for you?
Absolutely.
What'll happen in many instances, especially in residentials, is that if you have this prepared by a reputable third party, the insurance company won't even spend the money to send their people out.
They'll use the one that you submit?
They'll use the one. It happens time and time again.
Really?
It just can't be from a home inspector, though. You have to have a company that, A, is known in the business, and B, actually has the letters behind their name that prove that what they do is legitimate.
Oh, well, that's really, really interesting to know, because I think that we've all just been conditioned that the first thing that we do is call our insurance company and file a claim. I think that a lot of people, are becoming more and more aware that the insurance company is not on their side.
Hopefully.
But I still think that the majority of homeowners think that that's
your whole assumption is you're paying all this in that they're going to cover you. So
Yeah.
I don't know why you'd think otherwise, unless you
Sometimes-
met Angela.
Yeah.
She will let you know.
Sometimes I wish I could just get away without having to buy insurance.
I know, that's
at
what I
all.
was thinking, because if you're
You're
going to
gonna
end
have
up
to pay it anyway.
Exactly. If you're paying anyways,
But I
you
do
might
have
as
a
well
mortgage.
stack that money away to keep on the side to pay for the damage.
Well, yeah, I mean, my house flooded for Hurricane Ian, and I didn't get a penny because I didn't have flood insurance, and it was groundwater. It we got 22 inches in less than 20 hours, and my sunken living room filled up like a swimming pool. And we had just paid for new floors. We paid like $16,000 to re-floor the house, and it was floating. It was lovely. And you were right. You talked about the difficulty getting an SBA loan. FEMA came out. They said, we're really sorry. Here's $300. And I was like, so we had to pay, to have them. I mean, our wall stayed wet forever because I couldn't find a company that actually even had fans to come out and help me blow it up. And when the ones that did, they wanted $6,000.
Yeah.
That was. We were going to break 1 minute, but I was like, $6,000 for fans?
For fans.
I'm like, are you smoking crack?
I'll bring all my box fans. Let's line them up.
Oh, actually, you know what? We are going to go to break soon, but one of the things I do want to talk about is the cost. Why you guys need to help me understand why these costs are set the way they are, because I know it doesn't cost $6,000 to bring out fans, but what I'm guessing is that's what the insurance company is going to cover. That's what they've put in their books as the max they'll cover for fans and evaporating machines and stuff like that. So think about that for a second, because like I said, I really am curious, because it seems like even if you don't want to go through insurance, it's been outpriced so much that everything's so expensive that you're stuck. So anyway, on that note, we're going to go to break. So you guys stay tuned, and we're going to talk about the cost of repairs when we get back.
Wow, it sounds like fun, actually. Hurricane season is here. You better be prepared. We're going to help you out next on BAAD Radio.
Is that true, though? I mean, is that why it costs $6,000?
She's like, okay, tell me now. I can't wait.
So you got some bad players out there, like Ken says, and it just depends on how long.
You should wait to answer this, Ange.
Right.
I want to make sure if it's a legitimate question before.
No, it is. I mean,
I don't want to do some BS.
If they're like, oh my God, this is like a dumb
if
question.
you want to lead into, I'll tell you why we have a team. So I'll let Ken answer that about the pricing, and then let's lead into why we put this team together.
I love it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. That works. See, great minds.
All right, stand by, great minds.
Welcome back to BAAD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And this portion of BAAD Radio is brought to you by Ground Up Property Services. Rainy season is here, so don't make the mistake of overwatering your lawn. Call Recall with Ground Up Property Services about a water sensor. Too much water can be just as harmful as not enough water. And while you're at it, ask about the irrigation system inspection. And don't forget about the lawn painting service. If you are planning an outdoor event and you want to hide those brown spots on the lawn, call 407-468-4295. You can reach Ground Up Property Services at groundupinc.net.
Okay, we are here and we're talking with Paul Clark, president of Storm Consultants, as well as the GM of Renegade Roofing, and Ken Siders, senior forensic analyst with environmental testing and assessment. So we've gotten a lot more information about who you guys are and what you do. And before break, I kind of put something out there in regards to the cost of repairs, because with my experience is that it's way too expensive for stuff that I know really doesn't cost that much. And so we talked about it a little bit on the break, so let's hear it.
So you ask why things cost so much. So I might start with this. There is a program by Exactware called Exactimate. It's a program that's actually, strangely enough, owned by the insurance companies in a conglomerate. That program tells the remediators, the mitigators, exactly how much they can charge for what. It has everything listed down to.
But based off of what? I mean, what is it based off of what they agree? I mean, like.
It is a national price that is adjusted locally. And what happens is every single storm, they gather that data, and there will be people who, well, I'll give you an example. I was over in the islands, and they used Exactimate there, but it didn't work because everything had to be brought in on a barge. So it's a starting point, if you will, and it's used and accepted by the insurance companies. So if you want to be a big boy and play in that world, you're going to use that software predominantly, and you're going to use it in a manner that's prescribed. So why would it be $6,000 to bring fans and dehues into your house? Simply, that's the way it's dictated. You might compare it in a way to why does a Tylenol cost $10 in a hospital? Well, it's because that's what they'll pay for it. That's what the insurance company will pay
So this
for it.
Exactimate, you said that is it owned by the insurance companies? You said that they use it primarily. They have to use it. But is there any sort of, like, the insurance companies have any, like, stakes in this program, that business?
Absolutely.
So then that probably has a lot to do with.
Absolutely.
That's why.
I mean, that's
obvious.
It's my ball. I'm going to make the rules, and we're going to play the way I like.
Right.
That's how it is. And by the way, my ball works best for me.
Wow.
It's such a messed up system. Okay, so
you were right.
Yeah.
Why fans cost $6,000? It's because that's how much the insurance company wants to make off.
I know, but you know what? We just let our walls be wet. And
Girl.
the guy that did our floors, he used to work for a company, and he had some extra fans. He brought him out, and once we got them as dry as we could, we had a mold assessor come out, and as of right now, we don't have mold.
That's good.
Now that it's warmer, I'm probably gonna. I mean, we keep our
Double
AC
check.
stay on the same. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't. We don't open up the house when it's hot. So we're probably gonna check. Probably I'd say in July or August again. But we did get SBA money, so that whole area is actually, I don't know what we're gonna do. It's gonna be gutted.
Right.
So we just have to, we got the first installment, and so we took care of roof damage. We got the biggest thing was getting French drains put in so that our house does not flood again.
Right.
That was my priority. That just got done like last week.
So one thing I wanted to touch on real quick is how Storm Consultants evolved and why Renegade. You're asking $6,000 for fans. That's what happens after these storms is you get everybody coming here. You'll get, some of the big companies, remediation companies come down here. They have guys that are temp guys. They've never done remediation. They call them trash and bag companies, but they charge you crazy money. Also, there's a thing called emergency services in customers' policies, and these guys know it, and they take advantage of it. So why Storm Consultants came and our partnership came is because we put a group of companies together, roofing, tarping, shrink wrap, remediation, environmental services, fencing, screen enclosure companies, drywall companies. We put us all together because we want to make sure the customer is being taken care of correctly. There's no price gouging. We go off Exactimate pricing. Another great thing that we do is we help the customer and do the work for what the insurance company pays or what we supplement them for. The only out-of-pocket ever to a client is one of three things. Should be your deductible. And a lot of people don't, they say, oh, you took the deductible out. Yes, because you're liable for that first portion of that money.
Right.
So I have that, conversation a lot with customers. They don't get the deductible.
They don't know what their deductible is.
Exactly. They're like, well, they took the deductible, so I already paid it. Well, no,
No, you
you're
didn't.
liable for that first. So you have that conversation with people, and they sometimes don't get it. So what I've done over the past said, well, let's call your insurance agent. Let them explain the deductible to you because, I'm the roofer.
Right.
Who am I? Yeah, I just want to get more money is what they think, and that's not the case. We try at our company. We educate all of our partners. We educate everybody and give them the all the information and let them make a decision. I tell people this all the time. Not one of us sell anything. We offer a service.
It's a service. Yeah.
We educate, and at that point, you take from that education what you want to do. And if you trust us and want to work with us, that's a great partner because we're in this together. When a property, a business or a residential property, you could be there for 90 days. You could be there for 6 months. You could be dealing with this for a year together.
Right.
And you want to have a correct partner. So when a storm hits, having storm consultants and our team and Ken's team, and you get a hold of us and we put the team together, you're going to be taken care of. And that's what's going to need to happen on the next storm is you're going to need a consultant. Going and finding a contractor that's never done insurance is going to be tough.
Right.
The laws have changed, so insurance or construction companies' hands are tied a little bit. So that's why we partner with public adjusters and attorneys because of those law changes. But you also have to be careful. After Hurricane Ian, we had as we say, cockroaches came out of everywhere.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
You had every public adjuster company from Miami all over, and look at Miami's background with those type of companies.
Well, I know that's how AOB's assignment of benefits got such a bad name is because you had like you said these companies come in,
A few bad ones.
yeah,
Ruin it all.
and collect that check and then disappear like that, and that's it. So now I personally thought AOBs were great because I work with people that I like, know, and trust. So I'm okay assigning somebody the responsibility to do the things that I don't understand. But like I said, it's gone now. Bye-bye. So,
and unfortunately, with all those things, with the attorney fees, that bad attorneys taking too many fees, that soured the well.
Yeah.
Same thing with public adjusters. You got the good and bad ones. The good ones that care, and I know we have partners, and then the bad ones, take advantage, and then the contractors. We're in the same thing. The contractors that came down here from other states and took people's deposits and took off. So it's hard on us. Because people don't trust.
exactly.
So that's why we try to get this message out.
Kenny, were you going to say something?
I just want to make a comment about the out-of-state contractors. So, first of all, I agree with Paul. Like cockroaches, it's scary. But on the other hand, let's be practical. There aren't enough local people to handle a hurricane. There just aren't. And I've been doing this a very long time, literally all over the world. You don't have enough local people ever to build that sort of disaster.
So far, we have Paul Clark, president and Storm Consultants, as well as the GM of Renegade Roofing, and Ken Siders, who is the senior forensic analyst with environmental testing and assessment. Did you guys get to listen to the intro? Ken's like, what kind of an applause is that?
Hey, you didn't get any screams. You're good. Oh, that's good too.
So, did you hear all the stuff from Fifth Element? Because like I said, there's a lot of Ruby Rod stuff in there, but then I got some of Gary Oldman's thing in there, and then just the Radio Cosmos, that came on right before the Blue Lady scene. So I know that movie entirely way too well, but yeah.
One of your favorite ones?
It
You
is.
just
It's
love
I like it because of the sounds that are in it.
Okay.
Cha-boom.
Yeah. Bada boom. Because I've been in radio for so long.
I was going to say,
that's when
she's a radio girl. She's like, I like the sounds.
And you can turn it up, certain parts of it, if you have a really good sound system. And we've talked about the Blue Lady scene before, but that's one of my favorites when you just, turn the sound system on full blast, and it's just amazing. But so we're talking about storm season, being prepared, all of that other good stuff. And where did we leave off? You have to remind me now.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
I know.
Melissa?
Are you seriously looking at the ADHD girl for a memory?
I mean,
I can tell you what happened in 77.
No, actually, what we're talking about is putting a group together because we're talking about, networking spheres and Paul was talking about storm consulting, and I think that what we've done so far is set you up perfectly on why it's important to have a company like Storm Consulting.
Oh, and then people doing their due diligence. Homeowners.
Oh, that's right.
Yay, we got there.
Okay, thank you.
Reading the contracts. There we go.
Well, yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Because I'm sorry, these contracts are ridiculous. So if you've got some advice on reading a contract before you sign it, then that would be phenomenal because they are 35 pages long.
Or what specific parts to pay attention to, like just key stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess you're asking me because you're staring at me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're the one who said you got to do your due diligence, so shame on you. But you know what? Like I said, if you got your roof leaking and you want to get it fixed and somebody's got a contract in front of you and said they're going to fix it, most people are going to sign it and say, oh, you know what? I know there's an active leak in my house, but give me 2 weeks to read this document and look up everything that I don't understand.
Or give it to an attorney to get them to tell you.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Oh, there we go.
Because there's going to be language in there that people just don't normally use in their vernacular, so they won't even know what it means. And so, although I always highly advise people to read every word of everything that you're going to sign, it doesn't mean that you're going to understand what the disclaimers mean. And so it's always a good idea to have your contract reviewed by an attorney. Now, I'm not saying that every single thing, if you buy a car, you're not going to bring your attorney with you. And probably if you're having your roof repaired, you don't need your attorney. But if you're going to have a major project at your home with a 28-page contract, you need to read it and you need to have someone who understands it help you. But I'll go back to something that Paul and I talked about on the way here, is that people don't do business with companies, people do business with people.
Absolutely.
And so the first thing I would say is, if you don't trust the person that's giving you the contract, you shouldn't sign it. It doesn't matter what's on paper, because things that start poorly generally end poorly.
What do you think would be warning signs that you wouldn't trust a certain company?
They're only there for the money. We've all been in sales, and we understand that you never want to buy something from someone who's eager just to get the sale done and get you out.
Things that people say to me like, oh, don't worry about that. That's a red flag for me. That's
when you ask questions and they're like,
oh, no, that's not, don't worry about that. We'll take care of that. That's a huge red flag for me.
Also, you're going to want to know if they have their license, if their insurance, and if they're qualified. That's a big thing, and that's difficult with out-of-town contractors. I said nice things about them earlier, and I mean it, but the better deal is to get a local and to get a building consultant that works with a local. That's the better deal.
Why?
That's one of the why is. Oh, you said right?
No, I said why. Why was it better to be local? I have an idea about it.
Well, there are several reasons. First of all, the person is going to live here, so people that are going to work in their own backyard
In
are
their
probably
community.
in their
Yeah, they don't want
community.
anybody to trash talk them.
That's right. And then there's the other part, which is, if you, especially in roofing and other things, if you have an issue later, you want someone who's going to be here that can take care of it. For instance, Renegade, they're a local company. They work here. Now, everyone has a bandwidth. You know, you can't do 1 million roofs.
Right.
And no matter how big you are, you're not going to do that as one company. But if you could establish a relationship with someone like that even up front and have an idea, when we talk about our coalition, if you will, our loose coalition that we work together, we plan for the storm. We're in storm planning mode right now.
Yeah.
And because we know there are going to be storms, we know there are going to be issues. And I know a gentleman who says, I don't shake hands while standing on the rubble. I always took that as a good lesson. That's not a good time to make a decision. You need to know what you're going to do before.
Because you're feeling desperate.
Absolutely. So what's the old story? Don't go to the grocery store hungry.
Yeah. Trust me, I've learned that lesson.
That's
plenty
not
of
just a
times.
saying. That's for real
That's
life
facts.
Yes, life lessons.
Right.
And for me, another thing is, you get a consultant that goes through, or a company that's going to educate you like ours, Renegade, ETA. If you're going to get educated before you sign with them, be educated so you can make an educated decision. Just don't sign with everybody because, Tom down the street told you to sign with this person. Ken touched on it earlier. You need to vet them. Well, how do you vet them? Okay, are they with the BBB? You can look into the Department of Financial Services to see about their licensing. Are there any marks on it? you can go to Google nowadays, and then I tell everybody this: and the Google reviews, if it's not over 4, then you probably don't want to go with that person.
I agree.
And look at them. But those are a lot of ways to vet people. But nowadays, the way things are changing, you don't know if you can trust the contractor. You don't know if you can trust the attorney. You don't know if you can trust the public adjuster. You've got to do your homework.
Right.
And that's why the consulting things are starting to come, because we have partners and we educate. And nowadays, with the new law changes, I think the consulting thing is going to be the biggest thing to hire, because that consultant can help you with your contract. And one of the biggest things Storm Consultants has and our coalition has is we have attorneys that we partner with.
But you've also already vetted them.
Exactly. We've worked with them. We've vetted them. We've asked the questions. One of the biggest things on this storm, because the biggest complaint from Irma was the attorneys took so many fees and delayed my claim, and I didn't get my roof done for 5 years. Well, we don't want to work with an attorney that's doing that, because they're taking advantage of the situation, and it's making the project take longer to do. We want an attorney, and we've talked to our attorneys that we've partnered with and said, hey, we don't want that. If that's what you're going to do, we're not a good fit. And if I find out that you're doing that, then we're not going to work with you anymore.
Well, hold on. That
quick.
music means that we are going to go to break, but I'm interested in finding out what other qualifications are in order to be part of your coalition. So everybody stay tuned, and we'll be back with more Bad Radio.
There might be a secret handshake. We don't know. Stay tuned to find out. This is Bad Radio. Go to BAADradio.com for networking and more information. We'll be right back.
At some point,
Is there a secret
really
handshake?
like to give some advice to homeowners, specifically residential homeowners, for pre-storm ideas, what they should do.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
We have 3 more 10 minutes, so we have 30 more minutes total. So I want to talk about how you vet and then we'll talk about that after that. So I think that's great.
Yeah, one of the things, I don't know if you're going to touch base on, one of the things I would bring up in that segment is talking about, especially with Hurricane Ian victims, if you've had your work done, you need to take pictures of all that work with a timestamp date, with a camera that has a stamp and a date on it showing that you've done your work. Because if we get another hurricane that hits that same area, the insurance companies say, well, we already paid you, you didn't do the work.
Exactly.
So I want to talk about something like that.
That's exactly one of the things I was going to bring up.
Okay.
Because, we've both seen this
Yeah.
happen. We've seen, I'm on a major commercial project right now that has obvious storm damage from this storm. And they're trying to claim that it was from previous storms.
Irma.
And from Irma. And so we've done this long enough, we can tell the difference between new and old damage.
Oh, definitely.
But, the bottom line is eventually somebody that's at the desk adjuster's seat is going to have to get permission. And they never see it. They may see a picture. They're going to have to give permission to release that check, and without their higher-ups getting onto them, because it's just a game. The whole thing's a game. And so you get these, let's talk about field adjusters.
Yeah. Let's talk about it.
So I don't want to say this online, but I was in South Carolina for a project, and we had a field
So this is live still, right?
Yeah. On the social media, it's live.
I just want to make sure you know that.
Just so you know, if you're going to badmouth somebody, we just thought you might.
It won't be part of the broadcast, but we are on live on the platform.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. So the insurance field adjuster came out and began to talk about what was going to happen, what wasn't going to happen, and had obviously no experience, literally. So the remediation company that was on that project that I was working on also, the gentleman, one of the owners, went off the island, back into town the next day, drove through McDonald's to get coffee, and guess who served him coffee?
The same guy?
The same guy in a McDonald's outfit. He was probably no more than 20. He worked there full time, so what did my friend do? Just took a picture and then sent it to the insurance company and said, I don't think you have the right adjuster here.
Oh, my God.
Nice work. Nice work.
A lot of people don't understand, too, that when you meet with an insurance adjuster, anything they say or do can be held. So, like, I had one come and say,
Well, we're going to go back on the air.
yeah. Well, we're live.
I'm so excited.
You guys
Yes.
are telling good stuff.
You guys ready?
Yes.
Let's do this.
Welcome back to Bad Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore. Because a
All right,
couple
that's it. I'm doing it again. You don't cough in the beginning of the show. Okay?
Sorry.
Stand by. Take duh.
Welcome back to Bad Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
Welcome back, and this portion of Bad Radio is brought to you by Rachel Roach Realty, a Coldwell Banker Realtor. With the sea of realtors out there, choose one that thinks of you first and not their commission. 407-252-4566. And we are back with Paul Clark, president of Storm Consultants, as well as the GM of Renegade Roofing, and Ken Siders, senior forensic analyst with environmental testing and assessment. All right, I want to continue on with what we were talking about, and it was talking about vetting your vendors. So that's the way my mind says it, is that a consultant is like the broker, but the broker is the one who has all the knowledge. So you're the consultant, the broker. So damage happens, a storm comes through, a homeowner calls you, you go out, you're going to assess that. But before that, you have your list of people that you're going to call on. So how do you go about picking the companies that you are going to refer business to, or basically hire?
Right. So what we've done is been doing this work for 25 years, and then collectively, our team of us of over 100 years. So we all have met people. We've all have worked with people in previous storms. We've used our same attorneys from previous storms as well. And then sometimes you've got to add new ones, and some of the other ones have to go.
Drop off.
Drop off just because of things that you see how people work. And we want to have the same team mentality where you're doing the right thing, you're taking care of the client, and the job is being done properly. And when you hand off that client to the next person, they should expect the same customer service and the same service.
I agree. I think that's incredibly important.
So what we do is, the attorneys we have a couple new ones, and then we use the same one that we use from Irma. And that's how we vetted the one that we had. We had to drop off two because we didn't like the way the two were working before. We had a conversation and it'll go. So we have, we always have a list of three. So the client has, a choice.
Yeah.
Because every personality is not going to fit.
Exactly.
Every job's, we do commercial, we do HOAs, communities, property managers, CAMs, churches, commercial realtors, but we also do a lot of residential. So we want to put the correct client to the correct attorney. Same thing with public adjusters, same things with remediation company partners, fencing company partners. They have to have the ability to do the work for those people as well and do it correctly. So when you go through that vetting process, obviously you have we probably have 2 or 3 meetings with these companies. We do our due diligence by looking at their Google reviews. We look at their business history. On the with the attorneys, you can go to the bar association to see if they have any marks.
Right.
So you want to do that, and you want to ask around. You want to see who has those good reviews and has a good name behind their back, because as we know, there's some out there that don't in every category.
Do you put a cap on their fees? Do you say because like you said before, some people are overcharging. Do you take that into consideration too?
So most of the time that we're charging on an insurance claim, it's all through Xactimate and through the insurance claim. So it's pretty well regulated. Now, if I go in and someone complaining about a contractor charging too much, or they don't think the attorney's doing something, we'll ask our partner and say, hey, can I see your estimate? And as a consultant, if I'm doing this under Storm Consultants, I'm in charge, because I'm going to go and get everybody and place them. But at the end of the day, the customer signed with me to make sure that they were taken care of, so they're going to have to answer to me. That's part of the whole thing. You vet the estimate. You want to make sure that it was done properly. The other thing is, with doing that, you're protecting that customer's interest. You're protecting all of us. So I don't want to do that all the time. So that happens very few and far between, because we have a relationship with our partners that know what their responsibility is and know what the expectation is.
Well, if you think about too, because this is the way it works with a media agency, is that you save the client a tremendous amount of time as well. Because for if a company wants to advertise, they go to iHeart, they get a rep. They go over to Fox Television, they get a rep. They go over to some digital company, they get a rep. And next thing you know, they've got 7 different reps, 7 different conversations, and that's all going on. But when they use a media agency, they have that one conversation. That our job is to go out there and to have those conversations and negotiate on their behalf and get them the best deal.
Right.
And then we also get to work on economies of scale. Do you guys have that as well?
So you kind of hit the nail on the head with what Storm Consultants is. We do all that for that client under the insurance claim. We're going to help them get the best settlement that they can. Now, again, if we have to push them to an attorney, we will. But that's exactly what Storm Consultants does. If you're a commercial building, or let's just say a CAM or a property manager, they have multiple properties. They don't have time to, look at 100 clients' claims. Think about that. And then nor do they have time to call 5 different contractors.
Right.
So that's what we do as partners. We call each other, and we already have the partners. So I take that on. That's part of the service. So when they have a claim, we look at the claim. Yep, we can help you. We'll do what we do is really an assessment. I ask for the paperwork. I'll take the paperwork that
the paperwork, you mean like their
estimate from the insurance company.
Okay.
And we can take the policy and go through all that. Now, if they haven't had any of that done, and it's a brand new storm, and it's day 2, and we're there, and they need tarping, we're going to go there. We're going to do the tarping. We're going to talk about everything we can do and have them, if they want to sign with us, we'll educate the services we can do. Because now I'm doing that as the GC project manager consultant. I can take on that.
And that's taking everything under that umbrella. I think that's brilliant, as opposed to piecemealing it together. But the first thing you're going to do is secure that building, whatever it is, so that no further damage occurs. And then you'll also be able to assess if there's any damage for the homeowners or the tenants or whatever it is, correct?
Yep. And one of the things you just said, that why Ken and I partner, is Ken really can't do anything until the roof is dried in. We got to make sure.
What? Dried?
So make sure the roof's dried in. So like shrink wrapped or tarp.
Okay, so
it's not leaking. Secure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
So then he can go and do his testing. But if the roof's still leaking, his testing's not going to be, it's not going to matter. So that is one of the biggest things, is you want to make sure as a partner that we understand each other and what the client needs. You'll get, this is what I'm passionate about, you'll get companies that will come, and they're national companies, but they're hiring people that they shouldn't be hiring, that have no education in this business, not wearing the correct PPE, doing the wrong things, the trash and bag companies, and they don't take care of the customer. The roof's still leaking, but they're in there ripping out everything.
I know. I get surprised sometimes, and I still to this day will get fooled. Like I hear an ad all the time for, I'm not going to say the name, but it's a piping company, it's a repiping company. And they advertised so much in this market, and I wanted to get my house checked out. And so I call the number, and turns out it's a company out of California, and the people that would be coming looking at my place is just a local business that they contracted out. I could call that local business myself and do that, and I was so annoyed, and because I was like, I got fooled. Yeah, I got fooled again, and I'm like, okay, lesson learned. I want to hire local, but yes, that's just it. Is they brand themselves as somebody that's local to here, but the truth is they're just contracting people out.
Exactly, and this business is relationships. You should want to have relationships. So if another storm hits, you know who to call again. And if we have some national partners. So what we do is, you were asking earlier about preparation. What do we do to prepare for the storm? We're already on those calls. I'm calling other companies that I have personal relationships that I worked with before, that if Louisiana gets hit, we have people that can go there from these other companies and take care of our customers. Texas, same thing.
Is Renegade Roofing in other states besides Florida?
No, Renegade is just that we have 2 offices in Florida. We have one on the East Coast and one on the West Coast. So Fort Myers on the west and Deerfield on the East Coast. We're a state licensed general contractor and roofer. So we can go anywhere in the state and work. All we need to do is go register in that county. But primarily we're southwest and southeast Florida right now. But we have partners that when a storm hits in other places, that my crews here aren't leaving, but we have crews from other companies that will go and help those national customers.
That are local, that you can trust.
That are local, that you can trust. And some of them are in the top 20 of the biggest commercial roofing companies in the country.
Right. Well, actually, when we get back to, I want to talk about what homeowners need to do to be prepared. You guys are talking about what you do to be prepared. Let's talk about what homeowners need to do to get ready for storm season. So stay tuned for some more BAAD Radio.
Sounds good. We'll be right here. News Radio WFLA Orlando every Sunday 11 until 1 p.m. Bad Radio.
Was that our 6th segment?
Yes, it was. You have 2 left.
Alrighty.
Why, you need to go somewhere?
No, I got to turn off and turn on.
Yeah, she's making sure her camera's
Just messing with her, you know that. It's like messing with Sasquatch. Sometimes you got to do it.
Your gaslighter.
News Radio WFLA Orlando every Sunday 11 until 1 p.m. Bad Radio.
She's got the best radio voice.
Yes.
Stop it, kids.
That's one thing that I still to this day I just can't stand the sound of my voice. I was always like on the sales side of stuff, so it was really hard for me to step outside of my comfort zone to do the radio show. And honestly, that's why I kind of took it like really slow at first.
I'm with you on that, though.
Uh-huh.
I've done these things, and I'm like, I sound like that.
Mhm.
You sound comfortable to me.
I am now. I am very comfortable, and I really enjoy it. So
You have a good flow.
I like it when it's a topic that is something that I've learned so much about so many different businesses doing this, because we have everybody in from like coaches,
Health
like
and wellness.
health and wellness to irrigation companies to IT companies and
Limo drivers.
it's so
CBD and weed people. Hey, quick self-promotion off the air at the moment, but I'm also, during the roundtable, I have 2 hurricane segments. They are about your electricity and planning ahead. Apparently 1 in 3 people have no plan when it comes to a hurricane and losing their electricity, which is obviously a sidebar to the house itself.
right.
But still, hurricane preparedness, if it's a sidebar for you, would be great. You know, a little bit of that. Because there's one thing when your house screws, but you had the flooding. There were, 7-10 days where we had absolutely no power. Old people were molding away. It was sad. So, anyway, but your topic is great. But that was a nice sidebar, if you don't mind, just something like that about being prepared to, like you said. Stand by, I'm done talking.
Welcome back to Bad Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And we are back, and this portion of Bad Radio is brought to you by Liberty Property Inspections. Your home is one of your most important investments, so don't trust it to just anyone. LibertyPropertyInspections.net, helping you protect your investment. And we are talking with Paul Clark, president of Storm Consultants, as well as the GM of Renegade Roofing, and Ken Siders, senior forensic analyst with environmental testing and assessment. And before break, we were talking about things that they're doing in their fields to get ready for hurricane season. But now let's talk about what homeowners can do to get ready. And there is everything from your irrigation system to your roof to your plumbing. I mean, where do people start?
Well, from a practical standpoint, let's talk about the end game. The end game is after the storm.
Mm-hmm.
So the question that we need to ask ourselves is, what do I wish I had done before the storm?
Right.
That
You have
would-
to try to think ahead of time.
You have to think ahead. So in regards to insurance, I have a saying that I tell all of our people: pictures are free. Everyone that I know has a cell phone. Walk through your home or your business establishment or whatever it may be and take hundreds of pictures.
But you said timestamp it.
Well, yes, and
Like with
to be
like
fair,
a smartphone?
all smartphones
Yeah.
have timestamps. They just aren't on the picture itself. They're in the metadata.
Right.
But you could pull that data
Right.
and
Right.
print it. Like I know I can do that when I have a picture. I just like hit it up and it will tell me when I took it. Okay,
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
because I don't know how to turn that feature, the timestamp feature on. So thank you.
And the big thing is the timestamp and the date. And like Ken said, it's in the metadata.
Gotta get closer to that. I can't hear you. There you go. Okay.
So it's in the metadata. So take pictures. And so why? Why are we taking these pictures? Because after the storm, in the worst case scenario, your home may not be there. So you need to prove what you had.
Mm-hmm.
So contents are a big deal. Most policies have a contents
You're
section.
talking about the contents of inside your house?
Yes,
Okay.
and that goes for furniture and clothing and things like that. So that's one of the most left on the table piles of money ever in any insurance policy is the contents
Of the house.
of the house.
Because people can't prove what they had?
That's exactly right. So what they'll say, what the insurance company will say is, we'll happily pay contents, prove what it was.
Mm.
That's pretty hard when you have 6 foot of water in your house and all that stuff's been swept out
I
with
mean,
the other
for me, I have so
nasties.
many antiques. There's no way I'd be able to get
that's-
it all back.
So
Something that you want people to do beforehand to kind of prepare.
yeah.
yes, not just inside your house, but outside your house too. So take myriads of pictures.
Is there someone who can help guide what you would want to make sure you get covered? I don't know. So take a lot of pictures. So that's good. But I don't know. Like I would be worried that there's something that I'm forgetting or not realizing
Or
is
what
included.
about like my mom and dad or somebody like the elderly? They would totally need somebody to come out and do that
Right.
for them.
Sure.
So what? Another thing that is Ken's saying about the pictures, you also want to take a notebook or a spreadsheet and also mark those items down, because what the insurance company is going to do, and I have a client right now this happened to, he took all the pictures, so he sends the pictures in with contents. They're like, well, we need you to write it all down. He writes it down. They send it back. Oh, no, you need to do it on this sheet.
Oh, good gracious.
They're just trying to piss him off and get him to give up.
So would an attorney be able to like kind of handle all that stuff for you?
Yeah, attorney
Golly,
can, but
man.
attorney's going to handle the whole claim.
Yeah.
So that's part of the claim.
I just mean like that part.
But I mean, the attorney's going to make it slow down, and then you're going to have to pay like what $400 an hour for him to do that.
Unless it's with Bolts Legal.
Yeah, true.
They're amazing.
There are service. I mean, we offer a service that will come and do that for people. There's a fee, obviously. Do that for commercial or residential. That will come and take the pictures for them.
So you'll help people get ready for hurricane season.
Exactly.
That's a cool
And
service.
when those pictures are taken, there are people in our industry that are forensic content specialists. So I know one that lives up in the northern part of the United States that has the ability simply with pictures to put a very accurate value on everything in the picture.
Oh, wow.
And she actually has a unique ability that she can go into a fire job, and with the help of the customer, kind of like, what do they call those artists, crime scene?
Oh, yeah, like sketch artists.
Sketch artists. So it's kind of like with the help of the customer, this person can put a value on everything in their home.
And the insurance company will accept that?
It's kind of like Antique Roadshow. Sorry.
It is actually. It is. And so, well, that's an interesting question. No, that they're never going to accept anything that you give them first.
Okay.
It's always going to be 2 or 3, like Paul was saying. But the pictures themselves are the evidence that you need. Should you need to go to a specialist, that's one thing. And maybe you do. When Hurricane Michael hit Panama City, I jokingly said I chased hurricanes for 20 years and one chased me back. So our home was all but destroyed. Not only did we have the hurricane, but we had a tornado that came over our house.
That happened a lot for Charlie when Charlie
Yes.
came through.
Oh,
'Cause
goodness.
it was such it was a small, tight
Condensed.
hurricane, and it spawned tornadoes. So I think the tornadoes actually did more damage than than the hurricane itself.
Oh,
You said
yeah.
you had a hurricane and a tornado come over your house?
So we had Hurricane Michael that hit Panama City area, and then
It
one
spawned
of
the tornadoes,
tornadoes came and hovered over our house, and it was interesting in that it created a negative pressure in the sewer system, and sewer began to fountain.
Were you
out.
home?
No.
Yes, I was home.
Were you in the closet?
No, I was not. Our house is a block house.
Okay.
So it's pretty safe, block walls inside and out, but that didn't stop the nastiness from happening.
That's so gross.
Why did I tell that story?
Yes, it's good. It's good for the radio listeners. They're like, ew.
So we had the unique job to go through all of our possessions and to list them in a spreadsheet, which is what our insurance company insisted happen also. That's not easy to do. I had taken my own advice, and we did have pictures.
Oh, good.
That's good.
But it's still not easy to do. Imagine how hard it is to do without pictures. No one's going to remember.
Oh, no
everything in
way.
their home. And so the idea is, with the contents policy, is to get paid for everything you lost.
Absolutely.
Well, it doesn't matter if you lost it and you can't prove it. They're not going to pay for it, and rightly so. That's why it's important for people to document their homes. And the second reason that it's important is that sometimes we have storms back to back. And so let's say you have hurricane damage from Ian, and we're going to have another hurricane. And what if it hits? Well, if the work that's been performed on your home is either not done completely or done whatever the case is, and then that damage hits, the insurance company, if they don't have proof, they're rightly going to say, prove to me that that was done.
right.
You need to have photo documentation of what's happening. And the consequences of not doing it are a lot worse than the consequences of taking an hour and going through your home with your cell phone.
I'm definitely going to do that. I mean, we've kind of done a couple things so far right now. I got my roof inspected,
Right.
and we had some stuff fixed on it. Do you recommend people like call plumbers and just to do a whole house assessment before storms come, or is that too much?
That's generally too much. That would be a commercial project. I can see
Right.
that happening on a commercial project. And that's called pre-storm documentation. Generally for a home, though, if you just do what we talked about and photo document everything, and then, of course, if you've had repairs done, keep your receipts in order. And that sort of
Okay.
And how frequently would you say, I'm sorry, would you say to take pictures, like annually, maybe like after the hurricane season?
Yes, actually, I would suggest right before the hurricane season, because that's going to be a closer timestamp to the event if the
Oh, that
event
makes
actually
sense.
happens. So the dead time between the pictures and when the event happens is the time in question. So
Right.
you want to get it as close as possible.
Gotcha.
Right. And two things I would say is, as soon as your repairs are done, take pictures. And then once hurricane season starts, you take and document, and you take all the, like Ken said, you take all the pictures on the outside, and then you take all the pictures on the inside. If they paid you for ceiling damage, show that's been done, paid for, or it's been painted, and you have a timestamp, because the insurance company again could come, and we're dealing with this right now because of Irma. They're trying to say on some of the roofs that, oh no, this was Irma damage. No,
But it was Ian damage.
it was Ian damage,
Right.
and a lot of people don't know this, but even in Naples Airport had 125 mile per hour winds. Not only did they get 10 feet of water in Naples, but if you call a claim in Naples, the insurance companies don't even want to hear about it. They're
Right.
like, oh, that's. But you go to have that knowledge, and again, that's why you want to have somebody that knows this. But I wanted to touch base on another thing with water. Ken hasn't touched base on this, and this is a huge thing that I got educated on, is a hurricane. When a hurricane comes, hurricane water, and you get water inside your home, groundwater or roof water, that is considered Category 3 water. Ken, do you want to tell them what Category 3 water is?
Sure. So there
I
are
don't want to know.
there are three categories of water.
It's not good. I'll just
one
tell
is
you that.
drinking water. We'll call it potable, right? It's what your
You're not
water.
going to die if you drink
Not
it.
gonna. It's good for you. Number two is significantly contaminated, and that has biological elements. Could be any number of nasty things. And number three is it's grossly contaminated and unhealthy for humans to either touch, breathe, and take in any way.
All right, we want to talk about more about that because that was in my house. So you guys stay tuned because we're going to talk about Category 3 water when we get back. And I know you're going to say something sarcastic, so go ahead. Go ahead, have at it.
Frankly, she didn't leave me any time to say something sarcastic, so we'll move along.
I mean, we did 2 hours. I said, oh, that might be too much, but we can still talk for another 2 hours.
I know. I told you it does go fast because it's just it's like it flows, and then one thing leads to another. So we have 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
So that means that there's a couple of things that are really important to me, and one is that you guys get your contact information out. So when we get closer to the end, I'm going to ask you to give all your contact information, and if people want to contact you. But then, what else is you guys? I do want to talk about this Category 3 water,
Yeah.
and when you're faced with it, what should you do? Like,
Sure.
my family walked through it, and we
A lot of people.
heaved it out the window. You know what I mean? And we got like a pump suction to get
Oh, yeah.
as much of it out. So
The reason I brought this up is I learned this year from Ken is that Category 3 water is hurricane water. So Category 3 water is so think about this. You have 150 mile per hour winds. It's raining. The wind's blowing. You have sewage. You have brackish water, and you have.
Sharknado.
Yep. And Ken's going to talk
says,
about
yep.
it, but
Ken's
those
like, what?
those are all the things that came through your ceiling or your groundwater, and people don't realize that, and that's how you get E. coli. And
Ugh, all right.
so think about E. coli in your ceiling.
That's fun.
Ooh.
Really don't want to, but I suppose we can. Again, final segment here. So the music will start rolling up a minute before we have
1
to end.
minute.
Okay, just heads up. All right, stand by.
Welcome back to Bad Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
I want to give a huge thank you to our sponsor, Bolts Legal. Fear no storm with boltslegal.com. 33 tanning spa with locations in Altamont Springs and Longwood. Andrews Law PA, auto accident attorney. Contact Andrews Law PA today at andrewslawpa.com. And Crazy Muscle Nutrition with a new address is 1015 Unit 129 State Road 436 in Castleberry. So they're up and running. Tom
yay.
went in to visit the Crazy Muscle Nutrition, and he got some supplements. So we're super happy for Zach and his team. He's
Yay.
one of our sponsors, and so he was moving from Longwood to
I was
Castleberry.
going to say, you said new address, so that sounds official.
Yep.
Right.
Yep, it's open, and I'm really happy for him. Like I said, it was an adventure. Let's just say that much. Okay, so we're going into our last segment, and we are with Paul Clark, president of Storm Consulting, as well as the GM for Renegade Roofing, and Ken Siders, senior forensic analyst with environmental testing and assessment. Before we went to break, we were talking about Category 3 water, and I'm honestly scared. So it's toxic then, basically.
So it can be toxic.
Mm-hmm.
So a category of water is talked about in a document called the IICRCS 500. That's the Bible of wet buildings that's recognized by insurance companies and by remediation companies, and it's not just a United States document, it's worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
So it talks about what you should do if you have Category 1 water, Category 2 water, Category 3, how that's treated. And in your case, let's just take your case since we've talked about it. You should have had it tested. Someone should have come in, like our company, that could tell you what you have.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, it can tell you where you have what you have. And then thirdly, it writes a remediation protocol or a scope of work for getting back to pre-storm. But what actually happened is, most likely, is you had rising groundwater. That groundwater is not, people think of that like a spring bubbling up out of the ground. That's not what that means. What that means is that palluvial flooding, which means flooding that doesn't necessarily come from a giant water source, has infiltrated your home because your neighborhood's got wet.
Yeah.
And so you live in a neighborhood. I live in a neighborhood. Your neighbors have dogs and cats, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dogs do their duty outside, and so does every other animal.
Mm-hmm.
And then when animals die, where do they go? And,
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm not trying to paint a gross picture, but I'm trying to paint a realistic one that when groundwater happens, or the 150 some mile an hour winds like Paul was talking about, these things are picked up and they become part of the water.
Mm-hmm.
Water is the universal solvent. When it comes in through the exterior envelope of your home, regardless of how that happens, from the top down, from the sides, from the bottom, that bacterial count and all those nasty bioloads come in with it. There are people who have died from getting in that water who had a scratch on their leg.
Oh, gosh, Angela.
I know.
You're close to death and
So-
didn't even know
I
it.
know. It's terrifying now that I think about it, because we have a sunken living room,
Mm-hmm.
and Winter Springs was already saturated because we had so many storms. But like I said earlier, is that we got 22 inches of rain in 20 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and it just was nonstop. And so when we woke up that next morning, we still had power, but water had filled up in our sunken living room. And so, but we walked in it. You know what I mean? Walked in it. We made sure everything was unplugged. We were taking our stuff out of it, and that's me, my husband, my kids, and we were barefooted,
Oh,
and I had no idea, and I'm so happy that. And then my brother-in-law came over with with his grandson, and
Oh,
he's in there splashing around.
No fun.
Well, and
I
one,
laugh now, but I'm really kind of like.
Well,
I'm-
everybody's good and healthy,
yeah.
so that's good. But
Yeah, thank God.
we know for next time.
well, one thing that you guys brought up is very important. Is after a storm, you have to be careful, and you have to make sure you're using the correct PPE. So one of the things
What's
that
a
happens,
PPE?
so protective.
Personal protective equipment.
Okay.
So one of the things that happens after the storm is you'll see piles upon piles on the side of the road. That is
Of like shrubs. Or are you talking
no,
about
I'm
of debris?
talking about debris.
Yeah, yeah.
From inside the house, and this debris has E. coli. It has mold. It has
because of
and
all
a lot.
the storm
It's not.
water.
Yeah, it's
right.
not packaged properly, but people are trying to get it out, so it's all over. So you have to be careful. So one thing I wanted to touch base real quick on about the water situation was I went after the storm and volunteered for a church, and the church had some PPE, but they didn't have the correct PPE. And this happened the same week that we had like 10 cases of flesh-eating bacteria from the
Oh.
hurricane that people got down in Fort Myers area.
Fun.
So we go into this mobile home. She lived on a boat ramp, and we go in there, and I have the PPE. I knew it was like a drywall mask, which is not a respirator, and our cloth gloves that weren't cut-proof gloves. So I go into this house, and the water was up to your white sign there, at least 10 feet into this,
Good Lord.
above the house. So the house was raised. So the poor lady is trying to save all her stuff, and I said to her, I said, "You can't save this stuff. It's under flood water, it's no good. It's got bacteria. You can't save it. So while we're in there, because the church had gave us the wrong PPE, we were starting to get headaches and sick because of the mold and the stuff in there. So where I wanted to go with this real quick is when a hurricane hits and churches and other businesses are sending out volunteers, they really need to call someone like a consultant or someone like Ken that can show them the correct PPE, because they're inadvertently sending people out to help that are going to get sick.
Right.
So-
I don't think anybody realizes that.
No.
And the go-to is always go out there, put on a cheap paint mask, maybe some gloves, and start spraying chlorine like there's no tomorrow.
Right.
That is the wrong answer.
It
Right.
is.
I know. That sounds like
chlorine-
something I would do.
Chlorine is generally chlorine in a bottle is water. It's sodium hypochlorite. So most of that's water. And so what you're doing is you're introducing water back into the surfaces that you want to dry. And the interaction between chlorine, which is an oxidizer, and some of the mycotoxins in mold and the endotoxins and the exotoxins in bacteria can create new toxins. So it is a very bad idea. That should never happen.
What about bleach?
So that's what I mean when I say chlorine is bleach.
Oh, okay.
That's what
Is
I
it
mean.
the same thing?
Yeah.
It's same thing.
These are the
Ye-
same thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I think chlorine's what you put in your pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But chlorine is like watered down bleach, essentially. Right. Okay.
It's just we're girls,
Sorry.
okay?
Sorry. We're going in circles here. Not advancing. Go ahead.
And if I could change gears a little bit, one of the other big problems is roofing. So a lot of people come down and try to bring roofing down here and say, oh, we can use this roofing. No, it's not Miami-Dade proof. It's not, doesn't have a stamp. So what I would highly recommend to people, especially roofers, if you don't know the industry, get consulted. Get to a consultant. Go to your supply house. And the biggest thing is go to like SRS, which is Suncoast Roofing Supply down here. They're one of the top 3, roofing supply houses. They're going to sell you the correct stuff. So when you hear of a contractor coming down and, oh, yeah, I don't have no problems. You don't have to wait 3 months. I brought it from Michigan. Do not use those shingles. So that was another thing that I just wanted to touch base, because every storm, I see this happening. And then the inspectors come and say, oh, where's the Miami-Dade, the NOA?
Right. Uh-huh.
And there's no NOA. Well, you got to rip that whole roof off.
Oh, good Lord.
And I've had this happen in 2 different storms where I've had a customer have to call me and say, I don't have the money, and the contractor won't do it. So the contractor left because that contractor did 30 roofs from Michigan roof shingles, and now he doesn't have money to do it, and he leaves. So now that poor homeowner's stuck. And so I've got to try to figure out ways to, do the work. Sometimes we volunteer the labor, and then we go to the supply house or a shingle manufacturer to see if they'll, give a discount on shingles.
Right.
But that's a big thing that people don't talk about here, is you got to make sure that all of your materials have an NOA and are Miami-Dade approved.
So the theme of the story is that you need to hire storm consultants. And I feel very strongly I want to help grow this, because I think this is something that's hugely important to everybody in the state of Florida and even outside of the state of Florida. So Paul, give everybody your contact information.
So my name's Paul Clark. You can get a hold of me. My cell phone is area code 239-380-1106. Our office is 239-470-0330. And you can go on and look us up at www.storm-consultants.com and www.renegaderoofingco.com.
Awesome. Your turn.
So my name's Ken Siders, and my contact information is cell phone 850-348-3429. That's 850-348-3429. And I can be reached at ken@goeta.app, goeta.app.
All right, go fast.
All
girl.
right. And mine is Melissa at strikingbrand.com.
And I am Angela at BAADradio.com. Thank you so much for joining us. And join us next week we're going to talk more probably about storms. So have a great week, everybody.
Woo, that sounds exciting. Join us again, as she said, 11 o'clock Sunday morning to 1 p.m. I am Melissa Fox, and thank you all for joining us for BAAD Radio.
Okay, now we can talk. Go fast. Oh, my God.